Hello everyone! Today I want to give you a quick introduction to LoRA models. Together we are going to see what they are, how to activate them on Stable Diffusion and how to use them. LoRA models are fine-tuned models which allow you to generate images based on a particular style, a specific character or object. And if we look at CivitAI, which is where you can find most of the models, you will see that you have here on top right a filter where you can have a look at different model types, and you have checkpoint and you have LoRA. So if we filter for LoRA and I don't know, maybe Stable Diffusion 1.5, you can see that there are different type of LoRA models. And then on top here you can filter as well for style, concept, clothing, cars, and so on and so forth. LoRA stands for Low Rank Adaptation and is a cool technique for fine-tuning Stable Diffusion models. Now, there are other training techniques like Dreamboat or textual inversion, but they can be computationally expensive, like Dreamboat for example, and the quality of the image generated is not always the best. And that's where LoRA comes in. Why? Because LoRA models are way smaller than normal checkpoints, normal models, and the image quality they produce, it's stunning. So again, let's go into CivitAI. We can see, like, look at this example. This is a LoRA model. You can see type LoRA here, and you will see here download, you just have 145 megabytes. But if you look at a normal checkpoint, so let's filter for checkpoint. Okay, let's take this one. You will see that you have 5.5 gigabyte. So yeah, the LoRA model is way smaller, right? So how does it work? So when you're training with LoRA technique, basically the fine-tuning doesn't happen on the full model, but just on a little part of the model, which is the cross-attention layer. And this little part, although it's a small part of the model, it's really important. It seems to have a huge impact on the image quality. The cross-attention layer is the part where the prompt and the image meet. What is important to know is that thanks to LoRA technique, the number of parameters trainable is reduced, right? And this means that also the GPU requirements are less. So that's why you have a lower size model, which is even quicker to train. The only downside, which in reality is not really a downside, is that you cannot use LoRA models by themselves alone. You always need to use them in connection with another model, like for example Stable Diffusion 1.5, or maybe better, there is another model, you can find that on CivitAI, which is called any model. Actually, we can have a look at this together. So if we search any LoRA checkpoint, which is a specific model trained to make sure that any LoRA will work with that. I'm going to show you the difference between using Stable Diffusion 1.5 and this any LoRA checkpoint, and you will see probably a huge difference. But as usual, this is very subjective, so it's up to you what you want to use and what you prefer. So how to activate LoRA into Stable Diffusion? In the past, well, not really in the past, but like last month or 2 months ago, we had to activate LoRA going in the extension tab and activating, like installing the extension. But as of today, likely, we don't have to do that anymore, and you should find LoRA already in your Stable Diffusion when you initialize it, which is amazing, right? So in reality, we don't have to do anything but downloading the models. So where you can find these LoRA models? You can find them on Hugging Face. If you go in here, you have a long list of LoRA models trained, fine-tuned by other people, or CivitAI. And something that I really like of CivitAI is that I just picked one LoRA model, which is Studio Ghibli style, which I really like. And if you go on this eye at the bottom right of the picture, you see all of the settings used for getting this picture here. So we're gonna test this together and see if it actually works. And something that you should know as well here, you have important settings. So you have the details of this model, and it's telling you the type, which is LoRA. It's telling you when this was uploaded. It's very important if you're looking for the latest version of the model. The trigger word. And this is super important because this is the word you need to use in your prompt. And if you don't use this word, in this case it's Ghibli style, you're not gonna have the effect you would like to have from the model. You cannot exploit the model well. In addition to that, we need to also recall the LoRA model inside the prompt, and we'll see together how to do that. So to download the LoRA models is quite easy. You just press on the download button, and as well when you go into Hugging Face, you just need to press on the download button for the LoRA model, which usually is a safe tensor. The download should be pretty quick because the LoRA model is very small, and once you download it, it should go into your downloads folder. So what we have to do now, we need to just move or copy and paste or cut and paste the safe tensor we just downloaded into our Stable Diffusion Web UI folder. Let's have a look which folder we need to use for the LoRA model. So this is my Stable Diffusion Web UI. You need to go inside Models, and then here you will see you have different folders, and you have LoRA. You click here, and here, let me clean it a little bit because it's horrible, so clean up by name. And here we need to move this file inside the LoRA folder. So I'm just gonna do that. That's it. I can close my download folder, and here you go. So just to have a look again where it is, like this. So you go into your Stable Diffusion Web UI, Models, LoRA, and inside here you need to have all of your LoRA models. Pay attention because usually you put your checkpoints, your full models inside Stable Diffusion, which is in here. But if you put your LoRA model inside here, your LoRA model is not gonna work. So make sure that you paste that inside your LoRA folder. Yeah, and if you're using Google Drive, if you're using the drive, an external drive, make sure you're using exactly the same folder. The path to that folder is exactly the same. So Stable Diffusion Web UI, Models, LoRA. Easy. Okay, let's go into Stable Diffusion now. On top here, on top left, you can see all of the models available. These are not LoRA models. Here you won't find LoRA model, but just the full model, like for example, Stable Diffusion version 1.5, which is in my case this one. But given that I want to use a LoRA model, I'm going to use this any LoRA checkpoint I was showing you before, because usually it works better with LoRA models. It's made exactly for that. So I'm going to use this one, and where we can pick our LoRA models. So you see here you have this little button under the generate button. You can click on it, and then a tab, like different tabs will appear. So you have textual inversion, hyper network, checkpoints, and LoRA, where you can see all of the model you have. Now I don't have textual inversion or hyper network, so I'm going directly into LoRA, and inside this tab you will see all of your LoRA models. Now the one I want to use is this Ghibli style offset. So what you can do, you can just click on it, and then what happens is that here will appear a small text which is LoRA Ghibli style offset 1 in your prompt, positive prompt. Now every time you want to use a LoRA model, you need to write this piece of text, and in addition to that you will need to write the word specified in the model description. In the case of the Ghibli style, the word was Ghibli style. Yeah, so I'm going to copy this, and I can go back onto my Stable Diffusion, and I'm going to paste it like this, and then I'm going to write my prompt, etc., etc. Now, what I want to tell you about this text. So the format of this has to be exactly this one. It doesn't matter where you put it, but it has to be exactly this one. So you have LoRA column, and then you have the name of the model, which has to be exactly the same as the name of the model you downloaded. If we go into our LoRA folder inside Stable Diffusion Web UI, you will see that this is my LoRA model, and then part of the name you need to get is exactly this one, so Ghibli style offset. You don't have to add .safe tensors, you just need to copy and paste this part. And then you have this one here. There are different names for defining this. It's weights, multiplier, alpha. This is a number that usually go from 0 to 1. Sometimes you can find 1.7, 1.1 or something like that. And what is it? So if you set it to 0, it means we are not using your LoRA model. basically you're not using it, but you're just using the, this model here you picked. If you give it 1, it means you're giving full weight to your LoRA model. So usually when you go into CivitAI, they tell you which is the minimum weight you should be using for that specific style, and then you can play with that. So for example, in this Ghibli style, they tell you this is good around 1 weight for the offset version and 0.65 for the old one. So you see they are telling you which weight you should be using, which is great. Now, you have 3 different ways of writing this piece of text. You don't have to remember it. So first, you can write it by doing what I just did. So clicking on this button and then picking the LoRA model you want to use. Let me close this now. Otherwise, what you can do, you can go inside CivitAI, model details, and then, I don't know, for example, if you want to reproduce this picture here, you see you have this eye I showed you before. You can copy generation data, or you can also, like if you look at in here, you have what you should be writing in your prompt in here. This is your positive prompt and this is your negative prompt, and these are other settings. But if you copy generation data, it should give you all of the settings, not just those. And then you go back into your Stable Diffusion and you paste what you just copied in here in your positive prompt. And then you can click this little button below the generate button. And like magic, all of these settings will apply to your Stable Diffusion. And you can see here you have this name to recall the LoRA model, and you have this Ghibli style trigger word, which is really important. Just to show you, like, obviously here you have different example of pictures, and if you click on all of them, you will see that this Ghibli style is recurring in all of them. Because, as I said before, this is the trigger word, so you actually have to use that for reproducing this particular style. So ideally, when you do this, it should work. Sometimes can happen that they upgrade or they modify something in the model and they change the name of the file, but they don't change it in here. So sometimes when you do this copy generation data and you paste it in here, it can be that this is not exactly as the model name you have downloaded. So in that case, you need, like, if something doesn't work, if it gives you an error, right, you just need to double check that the file name is exactly the same as the one you downloaded. So this was the second option. And the third option is writing it manually. Also in that case, we are human and we can make mistakes. So it can be that sometimes we write the wrong name. So just make sure it's exactly the same, and also that there are no spaces between words. So in this case, you see you have 1.07 as weight, although 1 should be the maximum. Ideally. Anyway, I'm using this Ghibli style LoRA model. I'm using the any LoRA model checkpoint. I copied and pasted the settings from CivitAI to here for this picture here. So when I'm going to press the generate button, ideally I'm expecting to get something similar to this picture. Let's see if this is the case. So we go here, we press generate. Oh, it's giving me an error. So it says, could not find upscaler name ESR gun anime video. That's fine. I don't need to use the high resolution for now. So I can remove it. So it's something related to upscaling the picture, right? So I can untick this high resolution here. And I'm just going to press generate again. Now it's working. And wow, like magic, we got this picture, which is probably is not exactly the same as the one we have in here, but really similar, right? So that's how you use the LoRA model. Now, let's have a look if we change to, I just want to show you like the difference between using this model, which is any LoRA checkpoint, compared to using Stable Diffusion 1.5, which should work anyway because it's the Stable Diffusion model used for training this Studio Ghibli. Let's press generate again, let's see what happens. Yeah, and you see that you don't get the same effect at all. So what is this? So let's have a look. Yeah, definitely not. I would suggest you to try different models if you wish, but in my case, I'm going to use this any LoRA checkpoint for this tutorial. Now, ideally, what we can do to use this style on something else, like if you don't want to produce this picture, right, but you want to generate something different but still applying the same Studio Ghibli style, we can maybe, I don't know, change something here. Maybe I want to remove all of this. I don't want a person. Maybe let's try with an animal. I don't know if this is gonna happen, but let's try. So we can maybe generate a cat sitting in the forest, and then I don't know, we can put some additional feature just to hyper detailed. Okay, let's keep this, yeah, only just to see if something happens. Okay, and now I didn't give many information to my Stable Diffusion, but as you can see, the Studio Ghibli style has been applied, which is amazing. And instead of having the woman, now I have this little black cat, which is really cute, even though he has 3 tails apparently. But yes, in this case, we need to work maybe a little bit more on the prompt, both positive and negative prompt. And regarding the other settings, I'm quite happy with that. Something very important, I think, is the seed as well. But in general, it's more important when you want to recreate exactly the same picture, like make sure that the seed is exactly the same, right? And in this case, the seed is this one. I can use a random seed. Let's see what happens. Maybe something will change. Let's press generate again. But hopefully we'll still get the same Studio Ghibli style. And we indeed do. And probably this is even nicer because it seems more realistic cat, and it's quite nice. So something very cool you can do as well, you can combine different LoRA styles. And this is when you want to, have a merge between different styles, or if you want a Ghibli style, but mixed maybe with some person, some character, right? So for it, let's have a look at an example. Let's have a look at some celebrity. Maybe we can use the most downloaded or highest rated, maybe it's better, so we get a good one. Can use this lady here, Alexandra Daddario. So I can download this model, right? I'm gonna move the model inside my Stable Diffusion again folder. I'm using Windows now because Stable Diffusion on my Mac was really slow and Colab wasn't working properly today, so I had some issues. I'm using Windows, so you will see a little bit of a different background, but the steps you need to follow are exactly the same. And I'm going to restart my Stable Diffusion. So I have the terminal here, and I'm going to quit this. And I'm going to restart it again. Okay, I restarted it. I'm going to refresh the page. Okay, now if we go into this button again, we should see the new model I just downloaded. Let's go a little bit down. Both the new LoRA models. So I'm gonna press on both of them. So they should, the text should appear here. And then we need to add, the trigger word, which in the case of the Ghibli style is Ghibli style. And in the case of this lady, I'm not sure which one it is. Let's have a look. So it's Alexandra. Cool. And then this is the trigger word. So Alexandra Dario, I'm going to take it. Going on Stable Diffusion, I'm going to add this in here so I don't forget. And then you can start building your prompt. Ideally, and I'm saying ideally, the sum of the weight of the two LoRA models should be equal to 1. So if you give 0.8 to one, it should be 0.2 on the other side. And if you give 0.6, it should be 0.4 and the other way around. So obviously it works even if you use 1 and 1, or it just means you're giving the same weight to both. If you use 0 for one, it means that you're not using the one with the 0, but you're using the other one. So yeah, just keep this in mind. Let's, for example, choose 0.8 for one, or 0.5 and 0.5 for both, which in reality is exactly the same of using 1 and 1. It's just for giving you an example where the sum of them should be equal to 1. This is obviously you will need more prompt description and also negative prompt. It's just for showing you how it works, and then you press generate and you should get a mix of these two, right? So this is what we get. Let me open it. So it's kind of like this lady, right? And the Studio Ghibli style is here, which is great. And then I don't know if you're not happy with that, but you would like to have something still more looking like her, you can increase the weight of the Alexandra Daddario weight. So here, I don't know, you can put 0.8, 0.9 for example, and here you can use 0.2 in this case, and then ideally you should get something similar. Obviously you can use more than 2 LoRA models, you can use 3, 4, 5, how many you want. You can mix them, play with them, do whatever you want until you get what you actually want and need. Something interesting we can have a look at later on, it's maybe how to train your own LoRA model. There is Koya, which is very famous and very quick and simple to use, so maybe we can do that. Yeah, hope you enjoyed and see you at the next video. Bye.